non-public.
Yeah, so don't worry about it.
And they'll
Hey, Jimmy,
actually
how's the river been back there?
sign those in.
Up there, going across the field.
All
All my medicine.
right?
Thanks for coming.
Been running. Well,
So I wasn't there.
But it's the worst,
A little bit of outrage, you know.
I know, it isn't bad right now, but it got above where I like it. I
Yeah.
don't mind he gets up and goes across one area, but when it gets beyond that, it starts backing up and running in the field, about like that.
He said you should definitely do another 2 years.
Get a lot of,
Figure it out.
right, get a lot of track. But a lot of it's right in the area that ain't gonna bother me.
And those things are awfully wet. A lot of water.
Yeah, but
We kidding, much, I'm gonna swap over.
haunt you again.
Yeah.
What happened? You can also not.
We got a couple pins cleaned out.
Hello.
We go last, 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow, we got it done just in time. The work late.
I was sad yesterday.
I got behind and when my total
And then today I got
legs
all the
and so
messages.
on.
Yeah, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, Peter Russo came over with a friend of his. Well, Bobcat really didn't want to, they were chasing it, they don't.
Oh, it's not till
Didn't
Monday
do that.
now, next Monday, the
Oh,
roof
thought we
things.
could
Oh, we're not
do
closed,
it.
we're not gonna be open, but I'm also gonna close the kids' roof. So we'll be open.
So we opened everything up.
Yeah.
We
No,
keep it right.
no, Karen told me, I think Friday.
We're keeping up with it now.
You're just being over.
Yeah, it is. Just
Yes, yeah, no, it is.
To the library, because
2 minutes.
Right.
What do you do? You could just do the.
I got a laugh out of the news tonight. The guy was crying about down there in Hampton Beach there.
Oh,
In
yeah.
that area. This happened, that happened. I didn't feel sorry, but I thought you taking put a bit of machinery down in fucking that field. Nothing's ever gonna happen. You know?
And I know we just talked about that. Back in that time, I'm sorry.
Oh, but he said, all the money down there where we bought. Has been for years, doing an accessory now. And he said, how much? You know what's there. I mean, it's already bought it, but you gotta realize what's gotta be done.
I found out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I hadn't had anything serious for 5 years. Well, 3 this year
I have
already.
chairs in their places.
I don't know how bad.
Everyone, reiterate.
chairs are in complete disarray when I got
They
through.
all figured out. They're like
Down in Rye, a lot of
like
people pushing back the rocks
So you
again.
can see everyone.
So, and they have those all pretty well finished.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock in the town of Lee on March 11th, 2024. We're going to start and call our meeting to order. First up, we're going to offer public comment. You can come on up, say your name, where you live, and you have 3 minutes to share any thoughts. Any takers? No? All right, then we will go to the first item on the agenda, public hearing to accept unanticipated funds from New Hampshire the Beautiful. And I clicked it and it didn't get anything, so anyway.
Yeah, this is a $5,000 grant that the board has discussed previously that we're receiving from the New Hampshire Beautiful organization that will be put towards the purchase of the new Kubota skid steer, as you're all well aware.
Any comments? Thoughts? Concerns? Mr. Bugby?
I have a comment if the public has no comments.
Okay, go ahead.
No
Any
comments?
comment?
I would just ask the town administrator, when we do the warrant for next year, that we put that money back into the fund that the cost of the equipment came out of.
Great idea. All right, having no other comments, I move to accept a $5,000 grant from New Hampshire the Beautiful, a private nonprofit charitable organization trust for the purchase of a Kubota SVV 75 skid steer. Discussion.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. On to the next public hearing to accept unanticipated funds from the American Library Association. You want to say anything about
I
it?
will.
Please do.
So we applied for the Libraries Transforming Communities grant, round 2.
Round 1 we got 20,000, yay. At round 2 we got 10,000, which is amazing. This grant, the 10,000, is for us to make our front door ADA compliant, but also automatically opening, so we have a push button door opener.
Great.
So that's what that was for. It's another grant where we'll have a community conversation. So we invite the community to come and join this conversation, and if there's something that they would prefer to spend that grant money on for ADA services, then it's open to reconsideration. But that was the purpose of it. But there will be a conversation in April, so watch out the April calendar.
Great. So great you guys are getting all these grants
Yeah.
and applying for them. Thank you. Any comments, concerns?
That's delightful.
I agree. I move to accept a $10,000 grant from the American Library Association to be used toward improving services, facilities, and programs for people with disabilities in the town.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And that ends the public hearing portion of the meeting. Now we'll go to appointments. And Judy Belanger, do you have something you want to show me?
Nope.
Okay. Come on up. Hey, you can have those back. Sure.
Hands are dry from moving thousands of books. There's more comments.
Very good.
I like them. Hi, I am one of the co-coordinators of the Wilkinson Food Pantry. And last year, one of the other co-coordinator, Angela Cantara, rented a plot of land in Dover and drove there regularly with her young child to maintain this plot for fresh vegetables to give to the people that we serve at the food pantry. As things have progressed in the last few years, I started volunteering in earnest about 6 years ago. Our numbers have gone up. Last week, on Monday, we served 35 families. We do this twice a month, and we also do emergency. If someone calls and says we need food today, one of us gets there to get that for them. Going to Dover and renting this plot really is not something that it doesn't make sense, and it's hard for her to do. It was an inconvenience and a hardship to try to get there, to pay for it, and to try to get, she dragged jugs of water to this plot to grow the vegetables. So I'm here today to ask for a space on town property. The space I would like to use is the pad. It's a concrete slab. It is where the old garage was for the parish house. It's a 20 by 20 concrete slab. And on that slab, we would be putting raised bed gardens. So these gardens are about hip height. They're 6 feet long and they're about 2 feet wide. There's pictures up here if anybody would like them. They are made of galvanized steel and pressure-treated wood. In putting them on the pad, it will preserve the unit itself. It will make it so that it can be moved if that is necessary. It will keep it high and dry, keep the gardens from breaking down. The design, as I already told you, they can be built for about $100 each. This will be done by 2 young local Eagle Scouts who would like to take this on as their Eagle Scout project. So they will be raising the funds for the building, they will be building it, they will be helping to set up the area, and they will be helping to raise funds for the soil that will go into that area. We are hoping to start with 4 raised units with a center work table. We hope to add 2 to 4 more units if needed. The space will be cared for and maintained by members of the Wilkinson Food Pantry. We have about 7 volunteers that work at the pantry. And we'd also like the families that we serve to take some ownership in this garden. And we would very much like them to come and to help us weed it and help us maintain it. It will be for easy vegetables, tomatoes, carrots, cucumbers, lettuce, things that we can grow in the small garden. I spoke to Karen from Bluebell Nursery today, and she said that they would like to donate the garden, the tomato plants and all of the things that would be needed for this. So there really is no cost to the town, it's just the using of a concrete pad that is already existing. It is about 100 feet from the hose to the church where the garden could be watered, and that's why I'm here.
And the church is okay with using the water from the church?
Yes.
Great. And you're gonna follow all the necessary food protocol, I'm sure,
Yes.
for having gardens and sharing the food. Does anyone have any questions?
Liability?
I am not aware of any particular liability concerns. I can certainly follow up with our insurer, Primex, but community gardens are fairly widespread, and they are covered by the Primex policy. And this is a little bit different. The big concern with community gardens is having the large numbers of people on your property and in your space, and this is not that. But
Right from a parking lot, right?
I think we might want to stop calling it a community garden. I don't think that's the proper
Yeah,
term.
it does use because that tends to be a space where you can go gardening. So this would be a food pantry garden, yeah. Yep. Any thoughts from the crowd? Should I come on up?
Ian Tappan, Stepping Stone Road. Sounds like a very interesting project, and that they've thought of just about everything, not to sound negative, but critters need to be considered, keeping the critters away. Maybe short ones like woodchucks won't be a problem, but it sounds like it'll be perfect height for deer munching. So just something to keep in mind, what if?
Yeah, and what level of pesticides or what level of deterrents you want to go to and all that stuff.
strangely enough, there are deer tracks back and forth, large number of parish lines.
We just had a bunch in our yard an hour ago. Okay.
So I guess that's the real question then. How would you plan to keep the deer out? Because I don't know that we want like a big fence around it.
Can have a couple bars of soap.
I'm not a gardener.
It works. It works really well.
I think we're gonna see how it goes. That is the plan. I mean, the garden is going to be set up, so that will hopefully, and it is not gonna be, it'll be in a parking lot, near the parking lot where there's quite a bit of traffic in and out of the area.
I know Tuckaway Farm has a lot of community gardens, and they might be a good resource to ask questions, natural ways to take care of that. And I know Three Rivers Farm Alliance actually gets food to donate to people, and so they might be a great resource to use, just to know how to get things done.
Is this pad anywhere near where the construction is planning on being for the new building?
It does not. It's
Don't have any?
outside
Zone?
That area.
It's where the Parish House garage used to be.
the, yes.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure where
I mean,
they're
they
taking
drive
out
by
trees,
or-
if they need to drive a vehicle on it, like I'm not a construction person.
Oh, there's enough space certainly
Okay,
between
that's
that.
my question.
All right, any other questions? I move that we allow the raised bed pantry for the Wilkinson Food Pantry to be approved. Allowed.
Second?
Great, any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
so moved. Great, exciting. I know it's hard to find the Eagle Scout project, so I know it's great. Great.
They were very excited.
Yeah, I have a girl looking for a gold project, so Girl Scout. Okay, great. So we are gonna move on to the American Red Cross, which is, there we go. Richard, hello. You want me? Come on. Come on. Whoever wants to tell us their story.
Okay, let's go up there.
So Richard is a resident here in.
Yes, we
He
know.
has done a lot of the legwork here. But good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Couturier, and I'm the regional exec for the Northern New England region of the Red Cross. I actually live in the next town over in Stratford. But what we are looking for is some shared space. We have a strong community presence in our communities throughout New Hampshire. And we're looking for space here at the Lee Complex for some of our disaster action team members, our local volunteers, to meet on a regular basis to talk about the work that could happen should Lee or surrounding communities face a disaster. So Richard, if you want to talk a little bit about exactly what the space would be used for, you and Evelyn are all part of that team.
Right. We normally have a meeting once a month, and it's from 6 to 8 in the evening. And there's generally half a dozen to 15 people that we get together, and they come from all over the county here. And we sit down and we discuss what we need to do for the Red Cross, you know, things that change, things that we need to do, training and so forth. So it's just a general meeting where we all get together. One thing that we do, we normally have water or maybe some granola or snacks or whatever that we have there too, because I know we can't have that up here. But apparently it's allowed downstairs. Yes. So, yeah, what we're really looking for is once a month, a set day, and I think we decided on Tuesday from 6 to 8, if that's open, for us to come and meet. And I know that we would have to pick up keys and drop off keys and so forth. And we'll keep the place tidy. We'll bring our own cleaning supplies if we have to. So, you know, whatever, you know, will make you happy because we're homeless.
Oh. So a little bit about that. We're not quite homeless.
His story is so deep, though.
Our New Hampshire headquarters is in Concord. But what we look to do is have some shared space in various communities so that we can navigate and get our volunteers together on a more regular basis in the communities that they serve most closely, right? And I do want to address the fact that you've probably seen our Red Cross truck in this parking lot that has been housed here for a while now, and we're so grateful for that. It's a grab and go. Should a fire call come in from my town in Stratford, Richard and some of our disaster members can pick up that car and go right to the scene, the truck. And so it's really just has been a wonderful partnership, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to potentially explore this meeting space as well.
That's fabulous.
When I said homeless, we had an office, and we had to move out because of the building sold. So our group, the Seacoast group, needs a place, and that's what we're looking for. And the town has been very hospitable to all our needs. We have the truck. The fire department is letting us store some of our tubs there that we need for multifamily fires. And we've also been given permission to move a trailer down where the other 2 trailers are down back. So we're gonna be right here if you need us.
It's the right place to be when there's an emergency. That makes a lot of sense. All right, so it's my last select board meeting, and I'm going to take a quick moment to enjoy the right of being the chair on this last meeting. I was just in a place in Switzerland. I don't know if you noticed the Red Cross is actually the opposite of the Swiss flag, and I was just in the town of Switzerland where it started, and they have a whole museum to the beginning of the Red Cross, and my aunt actually worked there for 20 years.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
So
Thank you for sharing.
it's very near and dear, and I think that's a really neat connection. So anyway, does anyone have any thoughts, concerns?
So there's no issues with the schedule?
Yeah.
No. So I said, you know, if something happens, they might have to move, but upstairs, downstairs.
We got places to go. It's very exciting to have you here. I think it's a great thing for Lee to have you so close down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I move to grant permission to the American Red Cross to use the Lee Safety Complex on a monthly basis for their team meetings. Said use is based on availability and may be subject to change.
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Discussion? No? Okay. That being so, all in favor? Aye. So moved. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No longer homeless.
Thank you for all your help.
Don't move. Don't move.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
I was wondering what you were talking about, and then I figured it was.
Like, what is going on back there?
That was a big wow.
I thought he was talking about you.
Thank you for not moving.
There we go. On to regular business with our town administrator.
Okay, first item on regular business is the big elephant in the room. You have seen the design proposal I got back from Carino. 3 major changes on the proposal. They have estimated that they would need to reduce the size of the proposed town office building by 600 square feet. They have replaced the all-electric heating with propane heating in their estimate and put the electrical, full electric if you want it as an upgrade. They have also ruled out using concrete fiberboard, essentially hardy board, on the side of the building in favor of vinyl to reduce costs. The only good thing I've heard in the last few days with regard to this proposal is Jim Banks called me and said that to his mind, after a church project they had done using hardy board, that vinyl would be the better way to go. But the board has not met. I have not presented this publicly. I wanted to present this to the board and discuss with the board which direction you want me to move. With regard to this.
I have a couple quick comments and everyone else can share too. I think making major decisions based on things that haven't had a chance to even happen yet is a little impulsive. My intent is that the town goes forward and they want to build this building. We have a chance, we have until, I think it's March 22nd, to go for congressional funding. We make it very clear that these are important improvements and that we need help. It's very possible we could get some funding for those items. So I don't want to just take something off the table because it's expensive and...
I have applied for congressional funding.
Oh, you have already?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I think it's just going to be important to make sure we're making decisions as they're needed and not rushing into it. Solar, you can get funding where it is basically pays for itself with the energy savings, so it doesn't make sense to me to just write that off and say we're not going to do it for years when everything is built into it. There is so much funding available, and anyway, so I'm a little concerned about rushing into major changes before we even have funding all figured out. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was confused about why this was being changed so drastically.
Very last minute.
I think I went back to the December 4th minutes when they presented the project, and what Ben had said was that he estimated that somewhere between $1.5 and $1.9 million for the building we wanted to build, and thought that he would come out somewhere in the middle of that. I don't consider 1.8 with a reduction in the middle.
It seems like we were on the right side of things.
The number that he wanted to use when he actually pushed the pen and got down to numbers for the 5488 square foot building was 1.9. Told him that it was a done deal, it was too late. The warrant was sealed, the budget was sealed, and there was no way to change that.
So his response was to just start cutting things to get the budget. And I think that's the thing, is that in this design build, it's a constant changing as you're figuring out what costs what, and you have to keep kind of moving. But the point is to have basically the building decided. It just makes me very nervous to go to Propine at the time when we're all dealing with no snow and all the weather and all the things, and we have a perfectly, I just think there's enough funding, and I will do everything in my power to get as much money to this town as possible for energy efficiency. Everybody wants to participate in that, so I would hate to make a horrible choice like that.
Ditto.
Yay, I want to hear that.
Ditto with both of you, because this is like coming out of left field for me as well,
Yeah.
in terms of what I'm seeing. So once again, we have to be reminded it's a concept, and prices change, you know. But I thought the same thing. I knew Andy submitted to Chris Pappas' office on March 1st, or 2nd?
Yes, it was March 1st. And then they got back to me and said
And Shaheen's is the
26th was the
Yeah.
final cutoff.
26. So there's possibility for funding in that. Our situation is similar to Barrington's, even though we don't have the 300th anniversary or whatever they had. But it's similar in terms of they were in a rented space. I think the big thing is, depending on what happens tomorrow, if it's approved, I think that's something that's significant that will probably get us some more funding. But once again, I don't like the thing change. That's one of the reasons I suggested we put in another 100,000 to get it up to 1.8 million. But now we're looking at probably $2 million. So we put all those particular things back. So it's unfortunate, but we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Well, the timing was extremely unfortunate.
Yeah.
I received a phone call saying that the team was coming over to give me the numbers. I told them I needed numbers as soon as possible, so they came over on March 1st, late on Friday. I stayed late to set up the town halls and other things, and gave me the proposal at 4 o'clock, and we had prepared, Paul had prepared slideshows to present. We had put the numbers down, had specs ready to go, and I didn't feel that I could just publicly announce without talking to the board that, hey, this might all change by 600 square feet.
Yeah. I think that we just have to have a little bit of faith that there are enough people that really want to help us build this building and not have knee-jerk reactions to these changes quickly.
Well, the thing is, if we're even partially successful as Barrington was, they asked for $500,000 and they got 1.5.
Right, which is an
Even if we got
unlikely
half.
scenario, yeah.
So, but, you know, you can't count your chickens before they're hatching.
No, and there's a
so.
lot of people building a lot of things, but I do think that if we can show that our interest is to make this as close to,
Yeah.
you know, energy efficient as physically possible, that's what all this funding is for. It's hard to find places to put the funding. It's really hard. And so I don't see any reason why we can't get the support we need to make these choices. So that's fine, I understand what they're saying, and then that just means this is the area that we as a community need to be supportive and help find extra funding.
And just logistically, just thinking forward a little bit, that if we are one of the finalists for the legislative grants, they'll let you know in September, so they let us know in
So we know,
September.
yeah.
We would just have to go back to the legislative body and ask them for the, will you accept this additional funding that you have for this particular project?
I'm working with a couple of towns that are working on projects, solar projects, and there is a lot of ways you can work with different CDFA and a lot of different programs where you can get loans to help it so you can pay for things like solar, so it doesn't have to be down the road, and it often comes in at less than the price you're saving in energy, so.
Well, we still have to have the legislative body's permission though. so-
Of course, and we would ask them, but I just don't think that putting in the wrong heating source just because it's an unknown makes a lot of sense. You could, and I don't know how late you can put in, decide what heating you're gonna use, but then if we had to wait to.
Well, the presentation in the spec outline here, I believe, is essentially not mini splits, but splits, so there's
Ducted, right?
yeah, but over a hung ceiling, so
Yeah.
I think you could change your HVAC choices and your heating choices
Yeah.
without too much
Yeah.
difficulty. Nothing is gonna be in the walls in this because it's planned as an ICF building, so.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we need to panic and come up with a big huge change right now. Yes, in the back. Mr. Kazowski. Hello.
Paul Gazowski, 46 Lamprey Lane. Yeah, I agree with the board. This was a pretty stunning piece of information, and its timing is bad, to say the least. I do have a question. I went back and I read the warrant article. I just wanted to make sure that the warrant article was what we're voting on, and we're voting on a bond. And that, but it does raise another question as to, two questions as to information gets out there somehow. So do we have an opportunity or an obligation to the voters before they vote tomorrow to in any way inform them? That's my first question. My second question is, the grant applications are news to me, okay? In detail, news to me, okay? And I certainly wasn't aware of them, and given the nature of them, I could see where maybe there would, be a delicate balance that would be walked to get the applications in. However, they seem like nice opportunities, and I'm not sure at what point this was discussed, and whether it's appropriate or inappropriate to let the public know that basically these applications are out there, and they're hefty, and they have decent opportunity, and there's a procedure that goes with them. So I'm feeling kind of lost right now in terms of where we are, having followed this kind of closely, and but my understanding is we're voting on a bond, a certain amount of money to do this project. And from the get-go, the details of that were being presented as draft. And so we're still working within that framework, and that's what we're voting on. So, and I just want to publicly make that clear for myself and for others who may, be listening to this or following this, that's what we're voting on. Again, I think if we applied for big money, then maybe there's a way to let people know we applied for some big money.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think that some of those grants just became announced not that long ago. We don't have a long turnaround, so I know I just saw that recently. So.
I'm just very gun shy about coming out and saying, yes,
Yeah.
we've got some.
Because no one's
grant
guaranteeing the money. So it's just,
Maybe, can we go through the process? Process is relatively simple. Specific in Chris Pappas' office, it was a one-pager, I believe.
It's a one-pager, and it's essentially online. This year it was set up in electronic format, and Senator Shaheen's is the same way. There are a series of boxes you have to go in and type narrative and provide technical information and your town-specific information, and give a little narrative about why you feel you should be selected. You also have to relate it. In this case, one of the things that Barrington did to help their level of success was identify the town hall as one of their primary emergency operations centers. You had talked to Connor in Barrington. I talked to Connor about that. Mentioned that we could certainly use the small meeting space in the building as proposed for backup emergency operations center. Obviously, we're in a little bit different situation than Barrington, but not that different. They too have a safety service complex that is also listed as an EOC. So that was the primary process you run through. You describe the project, describe your funding options, describe whether it's a warrant article, whether you've got money saved for it, whether it's been approved yet. I think that's one of the big things I don't have that Barrington had, was they had passed a warrant article by like 84 to 16% in favor, and they had $1.8 million sitting on the side ready to go. So Connor was able to clearly say the community has put money aside, they voted in favor of this, we're ready to go. And
which is why it made sense to know, when our election is. But this is one possible grant of many different ways that you can get help with funding on energy efficiency.
That's why we worded the warrant article as it was, include grants.
Yes.
The rest of the legislative process as a community, I don't know what they call it, it's a community group made up of different citizens and elected officials and stuff, go over all the applications, and they narrow it down to a few finalists, and they have those finalists come in and give a 30-second elevator speech.
right.
And then in September, according to Connor, that's when you're notified if you've got the grant or not.
Yeah.
And Barrington was like, they got notification, but then I guess something happened and they got called back and said, well, could you use another $1 million? And Connor, of course, said, yes.
It's not gonna happen, everybody. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, everybody.
So
We're definitely not counting that chicken.
But yeah, don't count your chickens before they're hatched, but.
Sometimes it happens, that happened with us with the Packers Fall Road. That second $180,000 we got was simply a phone call from Concord saying, we've got a lot of extra money, could you folks use it?
Right, and that's the thing, is that there's enough money in energy efficiency. We have a vision, we have a plan, and we're gonna just have to keep hunting down that money to make that vision come true. Mr. Tappan, you've been waiting quite a while.
John Tappan, 187 Stepping Stones Road. First off, our situation is not anything like Barrington. Barrington approved the warrant article, and then the project was held up because of permitting, and then it was held up because of COVID. And because of COVID, Carino, the construction company, told them that the price had gone up by $500,000. And that's why
Correct.
they were able to go and ask for the money. We're not in that situation at all.
Correct.
So it's not like Barrington. Second, what was taken out of the February 1st proposal is the electrical heating system, $50,000. The electrical distribution system, which is required for the implementation of solar panels, $11,500. Other things were taken out, storefronts, $12,500. The windows went from fiberglass down to vinyl, $7,000. Interior doors went from solid wood veneer down to solid masonite, $33,600. Tree site clearing was taken out, but maybe we get that done some other way. Reducing the building size, $73,000, and then the siding was $15,500. So they were never gonna fit even in the 1.9. This adds up to more than $2 million. Everything that you're talking about is maybe. What's printed here is what you can buy for 1.8 million. The warrant article says the town is gonna build a building for 1.8 million. That's the price.
Yep.
And Carino has told you that their construction schedule is they expect to have the building weathertight by the fall. So that footprint is already built by the time you think you might be hearing about getting grants.
We can also change the dates. They mentioned that it was very possible to do it in the spring instead of in the fall. So there's a lot of wiggle room.
As a voter, first, of course, this looks very much like a bait and switch. Unintentional, but still a bait and switch. Two, the voters, the day before the election, haven't been informed yet unless they happen to look at the attachments to the agenda for this meeting. When a voter goes to say, what is this project about, and looks at the town website, there's a link right there to tell them about this project. And this isn't there. What's there is the wish that you thought you were gonna build, but not what you're being told you can build. As a voter, I don't like the idea of spending $1.8 million and not knowing what it's buying. And to intentionally build a building that is not designed to be able to add the solar panels to it at a reasonable cost is an incredible waste of money. And this town has done this project before. This building here was built with insufficient funds, and because the budget was not big enough for what was desired, the building was shortened, fire department bay was taken out, and
so Mr. Tappan, I'd like to ask you, what would you like us to do? This happened to all of us on Friday. What would you like us to do? What do you think that we need to do right now? Because I don't...
My recommendation is that the town should not vote for this.
Well,
I'm not going to vote for it.
Great, that's your option.
Because I think we need to actually see some analysis and a more concrete plan of what is it we're going to build, instead of all the talk about what we would like to have without having any actual ability.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you. I think that many of us have worked on building projects in the past. You can feel free to sit down. I'm just going to respond. This is what happens. You have to go through a lot of these phases. I know the library is familiar. You have to make choices and figure things out, and we have a very clear goal, and we know what we want to work on. And I think what we're saying is we hear what Carino said, and we're going to figure out how to handle it. The ballot is asking us, the town, can we build a building for this amount of money? And that's our plan, and we will do everything we can to make it as close to the vision that we have. And I think, you know, that how you vote is entirely up to you, and I think that we have the best intentions and that we will continue to fight for the right building. And that's all I can offer right now. This was a last minute thing we all have to adjust with, and that's part of building a new building, especially in this economy right now. All right, any other comments?
I would like to say, can we put the thing that was on the attachment, the March 1st thing, can we put it on the website, and can we send out some information, basically what you said in the email to the three of us? Yep. In terms of, so just to really full disclosure in terms of what this is. And I agree with, you know, it appears to be bait and switch. I don't think there was any collusion in terms of doing that, but I think we need to let them know that this is the new information that we have. And just put out one of those things that Denise sends out and just say, hey, this has come to our attention, and just to let people know. If they see it before voting, great. If they don't, I'm sorry.
And these are negotiations. I mean, this is what they decided was how they were gonna affect the budget. They didn't ask us what we wanted to cut. We haven't had the discussions. They just throw something at us, and, you know, that doesn't mean that that's the final say. There's other things we can do. We could say, well, you know, that's not something we're willing, we wanna have the best windows, so that's not a choice of how to take out the money. We're willing to look at other things. So I think that's just part of construction. So we can say this is the you know, the new proposal by Carino, we're still working on it, and this is the intention.
Yeah, I have spoken, several people had contacted me and said, you know, can this be stopped? And I said, no, this is a, you know, process that started months ago. This is how the warrant is put together. There's no ability for the board to say, we'll put the kibosh on this, or we'll, you know, we'll take it off the ballot.
Mr. Sartell's a question.
Oh, I can't even see you. Go on, Mr. Sutton. Come on up.
Quick question, Eric Sawtell, 93 North River Road, officially, I guess.
Happy
To
birthday,
be,
Eric.
to be again.
Oh yeah, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. So the quick question is, if in fact we're not at a place where we feel comfortable about voting on it, can you just go through the whole process of having a special town meeting like we did a few years ago when we talked about buying the property next to the old town hall? Because you can have a special town meeting for financial purposes.
Yes, and we do have more elections coming up, so it wouldn't be as expensive because there is the general election and there's the primary, right? So, but it doesn't, it just slows the whole process down and makes the funding even harder.
Especially because we wouldn't know whether we're gonna get any extra money until September.
But we wouldn't know we would get the money until we get the vote, so that's where it gets
So the
tricky.
question is, could we vote at a special town meeting, and obviously there's a cost to that, to have one warrant article on this building when we have more information about it?
We could vote tomorrow for this building, and then if it turns out that we absolutely have no other way to raise funds, and we need to raise funds, we could always ask for additional funding or do something else, or there's options. That's how this works. You know, you do the best you can.
If we got turned down tomorrow because of because we have money amount, people didn't feel comfortable about not knowing what we're gonna get, as John said. Can we or can we not have a special town meeting?
I think you could request a special town meeting. I can't speak for the board, but I would suspect that if it got voted down tomorrow, that the board would try again
In a year,
as
yeah.
opposed to
Normally you don't do it.
special town meeting.
Yeah. If you were looking for additional funding and there was something that came up, that would be different, I think. But I think you'd wait a full year if it's gonna be.
And that's one thing I did discuss with Mr. Carino was, I said, you know, if this doesn't pass, are you with us for another year going forward?
Are we with them for another year? If this
That
is
may be the question, but that has been discussed.
We'll discuss that.
But there's the other option in terms of going to the Superior Court, requesting the permission to use $100,000. I think that's the limit.
Yeah,
In terms
something
of
like
getting,
that, yeah.
Right, which could be the right. There's lots of opportunities. I think we are very clear on what we want and what makes sense for this town, and we'll see how everyone votes tomorrow, and then we can make choices from there. And I think we just have to commit that we're going to do everything we can to make this as energy efficient as possible and as economical as possible.
well, we can always hope for a recession, and then all the prices will go down. And then nobody can pay their taxes, but that's okay. Just kidding, just kidding. But yeah.
I don't think we're gonna build a crappy building. I think
No.
we would just not build it, right? If we
Right.
can't build the building, if you guys all vote yes, and the building turns into some
Mess.
thank you, I was trying to figure out the name of it, then we just won't build it. Like, I don't see us being like, yeah, let's just spend it 1.8 million if we can't find the grant money to pay for the other things. Or if they come back to us in a month and say, oh, nope, it's gonna be half as big again.
We're not looking
Like, we're
for,
not,
we have enough buildings that
I
don't work,
live here too.
enough buildings that don't make sense, enough buildings we can't use. We only want a building that is exactly what we need for this community, so work to make that happen, Mr. Gazowski.
Paul Gzowski, 46 Lamprey Lane. If I heard Scott correctly, and I think I did, he requested that we inform the voters as best we can in terms of this change, specific to what Karina's telling us now.
But I requested the town administrator and the assistant town administrators to, one, put the document on the website
Yeah,
and send out, I call them e-cry things, but I guess they're not.
yeah,
Send out her thing, letting people know that this particular change, there's a email that Andy sent both of us with information in it.
yeah.
He can include that, or tweak it a little bit, and send that out so that people at least will have the information.
Yeah.
Hopefully they see it, maybe they won't, but at least you've got it out there.
And you fulfilled your obligation.
Yeah,
But-
I just don't see how it's fair for them to say, these are the changes that would be made. Like, we've never agreed to those changes. We've never even had a conversation with them, so it just seems odd that they would just
But
come with those.
that's the reality. Is this something that you need to vote on?
I don't know.
As long as the town administrator.
We voted 12 hours.
To do it, so.
All right,
Nothing we can do about it.
thank you.
Thank you for your help. All right, anything else on that topic? What else you got for us, Andy?
I have a housekeeping matter, and this regards the Randy Stevens Pavilion at North River Park. The Division for Children, Youth, and Families who came to you last year and asked if you would waive the fee for use of the park for their picnic that they hold for foster families. Some of the foster families that they support are in Lee, but because the organization is not a Lee citizen, they have to pay the use fee. They have put up the cleaning deposit already, but they had asked you this last year, and the board had agreed to waive the usage fee for them because of the
Is this
nature
an
of the
annual thing?
organization. It has been for the last 2 years.
Last year and this year.
Last year, this year.
Gio, you think you need to just let them go going forward, so they don't have to ask every year?
Yeah, as long as nothing changes.
Right.
I'm okay, well, I am okay
Yeah.
with just saying, okay, as long as nothing changes for you and you still got doing the deposit and stuff like that, I'm okay that they don't have to keep coming back.
I agree. Second.
Yes,
All
yes.
in favor? Great. So we're gonna tell them that they can go ahead and, especially with communities and.
But they still have to go through the process with Denise in terms
Right.
of.
It's getting scheduled.
And if there were to be a complete disaster and abuse of the park, then it'd be a different story, like for anyone.
Yeah.
One other miscellaneous item, I got the power protection unit for the transfer station monitor, which was working fairly well until we installed the power protection unit, which started to make shrieks and squeaks and made the video fade in and out repeatedly in sort of strobe fashion. So we are, it is down probably for tomorrow, and we are trying to figure out why this occurred. It made no sense to anybody involved.
It should be making it better, not worse.
Mr. Bellier did mention to me that when the weather gets warm, the whole system works fine. It's just during the winter that we have these problems with it.
I feel that.
Temperature thing, maybe?
I vote.
Imagine
Put
electronics.
Scott in charge of this problem.
Yeah, exactly. He's on
You
it.
seem
He's
really
on it.
invested.
The thing is, electronics work in a certain range, and if it's 20 below, it isn't
Well,
gonna
then
work
we
as
have to
great.
let it go, or you have to.
Well, I was, going into it, I was very pleased. I paid $65 for the regulator that we plugged in. There was no installation fee, and we thought we had done a great thing. Heard that Saturday morning did not go great, so.
I feel like that could be like the poster story of working in government. All right,
And I had nothing else that I can remember.
manifest,
Reviewed, is it?
election day.
I'm sorry?
What's on the list?
Manifest review.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, the other housekeeping items. Need a person to volunteer to come review the manifest at some point at the town offices.
I'm not doing it anymore.
I volunteer, Rebecca.
Oh.
I guess it all depends on when it's ready,
Yeah, when is it ready?
because that's gonna be that's the.
Typically, it would be ready Thursday.
At
What
And
time?
she would typically be Friday.
what time?
By 3 o'clock is the latest on Thursday, usually.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah,
So if I came at 3 o'clock on Thursday, that'd be fine.
yeah, and I can always let you know if it's not, for some reason. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is if it's not ready, then I don't know when I would come look at it.
So could you
So
contact
it
her if
kind
it's not
of needs to
ready?
be,
Yeah,
it
contact
needs to just be done.
That's perfect, so they'll just let you know.
I know you
I don't
closed
know,
it up.
I'm curious, if it's not ready, I don't know when I
I
can
get
do
it.
it.
We're
Okay.
just gonna have
All
to
right. Like, it's not-
manipulate something.
If it wasn't ready on Thursday, then somebody could come early to the meeting and look at it there.
I know the office is closed at 12:30. How late are you guys there? Or is somebody there that,
Typically, somebody is there until 3 o'clock.
That's not the right thing, you're supposed to go home.
Try to get the ones on the
Yeah.
clock off sooner, but
Never gone when they're supposed to be.
and what I'm suggesting, and I didn't mean to throw you underneath the bus, even though I did, maybe we can switch off. Usually on Fridays I get off probably about 2:30, something like that.
Then what time do you get delay?
Uh,
3?
It takes me 25 minutes, so
3?
they might have to stay till like
That would
3:10
be
or
a-
3:15 or something like that.
Is there another person that's in the town that could have?
yeah, if
that
for some
locked up?
reason we weren't there, yeah, I could certainly, and I could get you a key too.
I think that might make more
Well,
sense, that way they're
I have
not
a key to
staying
the
late.
office, but in terms of locking up the stuff, that's,
Yeah. Karen and Bill,
Karen and Bill are
Or
typically
Friday.
there, if not, and I'm typically there too, so.
But we don't want people to stay because that's not a good plan. So let's make sure somebody can get to manifest for if something.
all right, so let's work it out. So I don't mind, Rebecca, if we want to like alternate? Would you wanna do
It's
that?
every other week though, right?
It's every other week, so it'd be like once a month.
That's fine. I don't mind doing it as long as it's ready at Thursdays at 3 o'clock.
she
So
can be the backup.
I'll
Yeah,
be
you
the
can-
backup.
She can just do it
That's
regularly.
it.
Falls apart,
That's fine.
it's gotta be the backup.
That's perfect. And then you can just let Rebecca know so she doesn't rush home that day.
And just for the record, I did leave at 12:35 this Friday because it was
Nice.
60 degrees and I wanted to ride my motorcycle.
As you should.
I see.
Bravo, I'm impressed. All right, election day schedule, I think we have that all figured out.
Great.
7 till 11 something or other.
Yep, and I'm in an 11 to 4, and Rebecca's 3 to close.
Okay.
I don't know how you get that awful shift all the time, but you
Well,
do.
I have to teach from 8 to 2, so.
I'll see some of you during that time because Carol Rossi and I are going to take turns handing out our natural resources inventory
Nice.
flyer, which there are copies of on the table where you
Please
signed
take
in.
one. Love it. Very exciting. And the more you say and the more you tell us, the more we can respond, so.
If you don't like using Q codes or QR codes, we have hard copies available of the survey that we can send you.
Hard copies, you can do it online, you can do it on paper, you can use crayon, whatever makes you happy. Don't use lead, we prefer not to use lead. Okay,
That's all.
that was a lot of fun things. I move to accept for the last time the consent agenda as presented.
Can we pull minutes?
Which minutes
Or
do we
if you'll
pull?
take,
10 minutes for you to finish reading?
Denise has been very good, but she's
She is.
missed something.
Uh-oh.
February 20th, 2024, she's got a typo. It says, "The board is okay with this." So I assume you meant the board. I put in a D and put a little carrot on it. So other than that, they seem to be
Isn't
fine.
that what you're gonna be ranking soon as fours? Because you're running for
Yes,
the
that's what I
position
am
of.
running for,
Yeah.
for Heath.
So maybe she meant, maybe she meant for
Hargreaves.
you. Hargreaves,
Hargreaves.
yeah. So if you change board to hog, that'd be great. That's what you're saying, right? Okay, so with that change, are we ready to move?
I haven't gotten to read them yet since they came today and I was teaching,
Got it.
Yes.
so.
Me too, but they forced me to read them.
I was working all day and I did it during lunch, so. What's next?
Sorry, they came Friday, apparently, but there was more today,
Yes.
so.
Not many more, just a few.
Okay, well, I
Yeah.
haven't read those ones.
So what would you propose that we do? Should we have two of us vote to move them, or do you want to?
If you guys
Take
have
time
approved them,
to-
then that's fine. I think 2 is enough to, I will abstain, it's fine.
Does that work? Denise? All All right, so did you second it then, Mr. Bugby?
No. Did you actually move it?
I did. I moved to accept the consent agenda. Great.
Second.
Any discussion? We had the discussion about the board. Anything else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, so moved.
Just for Annie's clarification, it was minutes from meetings from November through February.
Do March.
It was a lot.
Excuse me. So that's what it was.
Denise has
So,
made magic happen.
There were minutes that got parked as the budget season unfolded into the town report season, into the voter's guide season.
And as a person who has to read minutes of every town in 50 towns and cities, I can tell you we are not alone in that exact problem. Everybody has minutes from September.
And in compliance, we have draft copies of the minutes
Right,
that we
available.
can make available fairly quickly to anyone that comes in the office and needs them.
no
But
sign?
no,
Nothing to sign?
No.
Thought there was something.
you already signed these?
Yeah, I signed those.
Great, I signed those too.
Okay.
All right, anything else? I'll just say, this being my last meeting, that I
Yes.
have absolutely loved doing this job, and I will miss it very much. And I'm looking forward to being on the other side and helping support whoever I can. Thank you both.
But don't run away quite yet.
Oh,
Oh, no, this goes to the one right in the middle.
Oh, okay.
what is this?
Well, we'd like to present you with this lovely plaque,
That's so sweet.
which is editable. There's space here.
Oh,
So if you'd like to come back, we can, more dates at the bottom, right underneath.
that is very cute. I think it's very balanced this way, but I feel like it's very balanced with this nice spacing.
I can add a doodle up here.
Okay. That's really very sweet. I know I've been lighthearted about leaving. It has been sad realizing that this day has come, and I will definitely miss this. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about all the work that has happened in the past 3 years and how many things have moved forward. So,
But you also promised to help us find money. for
I'm gonna shake every money tree I can find for this town, but I will have the time to do that because I will not be here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
I had no requests for non-public.
Fabulous, I move to adjourn.
Can we do a short, for the people's
Kill it.
notification, the meeting that we had with the Madbury people, just so people know?
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
Sorry.
If you don't want to stay, you don't have to
You're
stay.
welcome to, there you go.
You can go, it's fine.
We did meet
Yes.
with Madbury, this is very exciting.
I'll give a recap, and Selectman Bugby and Selectwoman Hawthorne can interrupt me if I get this incorrect. The Deerfield Select Board took the opportunity to meet with the Madbury Select Board.
Deerfield?
I'm sorry, where?
The town that I live in did not meet with Madbury. The Lee Select Board took the opportunity to get together with the Madbury Select Board last week at their regular meeting to discuss potentially sharing municipal services and exploring whether there are any cost savings to be shared. Conversation centered primarily around fire and waste disposal issues. Those are two areas of concern that Madbury is feeling particularly pushed by at this point. Fire probably being the main problem that they have. They don't have any full-time employees. Most of their part-time employees are former retired employees who would now like to be completely retired. And I think it's there's certainly a lot of opportunity there. The police chief, I believe, would like to be retired. The fire chief would like to be retired. The DPW person said he was sick of telling them he'd like to be retired and has moved down south and retired. So conversations are going to continue. I've been talking with Eric Figgenbaum, who's the Madbury town administrator, about which directions we might move in, and I've also talked to Nate Bernice a couple of more times. He was also at the meeting. He's a UNH Cooperative Extension Specialist who's looking to work to partner communities together. They've been looking more in the North Country than they have been in the Seacoast, but certainly Madbury, which is about half the size of Lee in population and area, and Lee can see some benefit to having a relationship. So that's going to progress as the boards talk and as Eric and I continue to talk.
Yeah, they wanted to talk without us, which is fine, but should get back to us sometime in April, sometime, in terms of what they would like to pursue. And one of the things that we thought is maybe starting with some low-hanging fruit in terms of having our DPW people do their hauling up to Waste Management for a fee, of course. The other thing that I mentioned is it needs to work for them and it also needs to work for us. And one of the things that they're gonna do and we're gonna do as well is keep the public informed. So it's not like, oh, I don't want somebody in the town of Lee to say, well, geez, now we're subsidizing Lee. No, it's subsidizing Madbury in terms of whatever the service is. The thought is that this is gonna make us some money. So we'd probably have to invest some things, maybe some additional people, but it needs to work for both towns. So, but the thought is to increase our revenue because that will assist us in terms of trying to keep our tax rate relatively low. And it seems like a good time to do this because most of their major players, they want to retire. And our DPW director was there as well, Steve was there as well to give his opinion and stuff. So it's something he's interested in pursuing. I've talked to the fire chief about this too. He has a few reservations. One of the things, if we did fire, we'd probably have to create a fire district, which is a little bit different. It's not unusual. Some towns have done it. Laconia has done it, and some other towns. So.
Nate and I identified 6 or 7 communities that have created a fire district, and Thornton and Campton actually created a fire district, and they have a transfer station district, and share a transfer station and trash hauling as well.
Yeah.
That's how it's done in the South, really. Very, very different.
So it's something we're exploring, so just so people understand what's going on. And we're gonna involve the public as much as possible in terms of getting your input. But the thought is to increase our revenue so that we can keep their taxes as low as possible. So that's the thought process behind it. So.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yay.
Questions, comments?
Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
So?
Guys, this was so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I'll put